Brother Will sitting in the hotel.
Brother Rich. Yep. This is my home away from home is wherever the little key card thing turns on a green light and opens the movable part of the wall into a small domicile.
You have spent a lot of time in hotels, I would imagine.
Yes. The family gives me grief. I think mostly good naturedly about never wanting to go anywhere. And I'm like, let me get this straight. We're going to drive to an airport, get on an airplane, stay in hotels, eat in restaurants. That sounds like work to me.
Yeah.
How about we just stay home?
Yeah, staycation. That's a little thing. We might have this might be the lowest amount of slides in the history of our conversations.
I'm pretty sure it is, and we're going to delve into many of the points on there, so there's going to be a little more discussion in there because I think there's some nuance in here, both from just the economic stock market side, but also just political commentary side and how I think this is going to get spun in the coming months. So also to kind of arm people up a little bit with what I'm thinking about how Team Red and Team Blue are going to spin this and how some things that I think are facts, and I'm going to try and show that today, are going to get spun really hard by Team Blue. And in fairness, if it was the other way around, Team Red would be doing it.
Yeah, true.
So
with all that as a setup, thank you. Good morning. Michael Gentili is on, my very good friend. Bruce is up there in Michigan. He is coin number 481. Links in today's show notes. We got, I think, 3 spots left for the high risk environment course. And after this week, I'm shutting off your ability to enroll. So it's something that you've been considering. You got till Friday to do it because I've got to give the final count to the lodge.
Awesome. Glad to hear this going well. So,
oh, yeah.
Glad you guys are joining us this morning. Let's dive right in here. Fear Greed Index 33, slowly creeping back up. It's as crazy as it sounds. It's not a terrible trading indicator. I wouldn't do it with my long-term account, but a trading indicator to when the fear greed gets down around 30, definitely below 20, buy some, and when it gets above 80, sell some. So now that said, outside factors play a lot into that. But as a general trend, it's the market's the fear of the market's been up quite a bit, and the market's been sideways to down, as we've seen, and now it's trending back up. It's going up this morning on rumors that we're close to a deal with China. If that goes through, then even if it's going to, I'll say, hurt the economy compared to pre-tariff days, or hurt the stock market, or hurt companies, or however hurts consumers, however you want to term that, the one thing the stock market really doesn't like is uncertainty. Yeah. They would rather deal with bad news and process it than, I don't know, because how do you trade? I don't know, right?
All right, exactly.
So at least if it's bad data, you can get get out of foreign or companies that have to deal with tariffs and get into stocks that don't. So within this, we got a bunch of points we're going to hit in here. This delayed government data from the shutdown, it is affecting you, and it will affect you more, in my opinion. There's the stock market side, which is the side I pay attention to the most. This delayed data, there's going to be a number of areas where this hits. So let's hit these. The jobs reports. We didn't get the September report. Unless something happens fairly soon, we're not going to get the October report, because that is on the first Friday of the month, which would be November 7th. So 10 business days away. I don't know how soon they have to get back to get accurate data there, because first they're going to have to process the September one. And this is the first point where Team Blue is going to probably make some hay. The September jobs report is probably going to come in pretty ugly. And that is because a whole bunch of federal government workers took the buyout back in March, and they got a 6-month severance. And you can't file for unemployment until your severance runs out. And 3 plus 6 would make 9. So a whole bunch of them are going to file unemployment in September. So those September jobs numbers are probably going to look pretty ugly. Now, if that plays out the way I'm thinking, whether that be September, October, both, whatever it is, Wall Street's going to put a little asterisk by that, because they're going to say exactly what I just said. and then move on. But Team Blue is going to make some hay out of that because we're a year away from the midterms, give or take. And Team Blue is going to dive into that and be like, see, everything was fine when Team Blue was in charge. Now we got Team Red. Look at these numbers. It is what it is. If you want the size of the government to go down, you want the deficit to go down, it's part of that. This is going to be part of the process. So, but it doesn't change the fact that Team Blue is going to make some hay on this. Okay. Along those same lines, remember when there was that big adjustment down? Was it 911,000, the QCEW adjustment they make to the unemployment data? When that, I just find it funny now that I've kind of broken out of the Team Red, Team Blue paradigm. The Democrats were making all kinds of, hey, the largest ever adjustment down under Trump. Oh, it's terrible. Well, they forgot to mention that, 3/4 of it, give or take, was under Biden, number one. And number two, it had just beaten the previous year's record of 800 and something thousand under Biden, which was entirely under Biden. It becomes laughable after a while. And I think it might be more of that laugh instead of cry sort of thing, because these are the same idiots in charge of the country.
Let's go back to the China. You kind of breezed by that trade deal that may or may not happen.
Yeah.
Presuming both ways. The deal goes through and it's favorable, obviously, or Trump's not going to accept it. And then give me the counterpoint. It doesn't happen, at least not this month or what have you. Then what are your thoughts?
Off the top of my head, more uncertainty. And with more uncertainty is going to come some more stock market volatility. It'll be, what did Trump put on Truth Social? What did so-and-so say? Did Trump call Xi Jinping a bad name? It'll be more of the volatility we've become accustomed to.
What is your general opinion of tariffs overall? And the reason, let me clarify this or quantify whatever. I haven't had my second cup of coffee yet. I have a friend who just kept back and forth texts all weekend long about tariffs. And I'm like, I'm like, I've been in favor of them forever. I think this is something we need to do. We need to do it strategically. But again, how else do we do these things? And he's like, well, yeah, but you could give a tax break on American made goods and all this stuff. What are your thoughts on tariffs, just off the top of your head?
Like everything, I think they have their place. If we get in the way back machine, the reason we have Harley Davidson today is tariffs. Because back when I was in college and wanted a rice rocket, you had to pay a tariff on Japanese bikes. There was a tariff for under 600 cc's and over 600 cc's, which is why all the Hondas, Suzukis were 599 cc's instead of 600s, right? Exactly. So, and that gave Harley time they gave them a little more pricing power and took the boot off their throats that the Japanese bike makers had on them and let them turn their business around. It's also the same reason we have Toyota, Nissan, Honda plants all through the South. I think you and I are spot on in that regard then. Okay. And I thought we were, but I'm like, well, it's giving a space for American companies to get into markets that maybe they have abandoned because they knew they couldn't compete, or foreign companies coming over here. So far the Trump tariffs have brought in $174 billion thus far. But again, it's like slightly less, I think, than 1% of our GDP, but at the same time, it's nothing to sneeze at. And it's, people are making deals, are coming over here. It's just a great little carrot and stick. And this guy was like, yeah, but what else does it do? Well, if it's bringing in money, it's encouraging manufacturing in America. It's bringing in jobs. It's punishing countries for unfair labor practices and currency manipulation. Yeah, but what else? I'm like, I think that's enough. I would agree that's enough. And that person kind of hit on Team Blue's talking points. And this next comment really applies to Team Red and Team Blue. You got a bunch of guys and women up there who make us look like teenagers. Okay. And globalization has worked wonderfully during the time that it has worked. But Ross Perot was right. There was a giant sucking sound here in the United States as the jobs, the investment, everything left. And it did what it was promised to do. It raised the standard of living in the rest of the world. But unfortunately, it did that at the cost of $37 trillion in national debt. And that can't go on forever. And, I look at all of us get caught into, well, this is what we've always done and it's always worked. Well, in the case of these folks up in DC, it's been working their entire careers. And now they're in their 70s and 80s. And, the older we get, the harder it is to change our minds on stuff because we're like, it's been working forever. By the way, get off my lawn. Okay. So, I guess I have some sympathies for some of them. Doesn't mean I like them or agree with them, but I have some sympathies there. And the tariff thing, like anything, if it gets overdone, then we have problems.
Yeah,
okay?
we don't want to all out trade war with anybody. We want to have free and open trade. But you said it, the sucking sound is so important for people to understand, because if you look at the fall of the British Empire, the Dutch Empire, the Spanish Empire, you name it, the American Empire was heading that way. Hopefully we can reverse course a little bit, but they're sending dollars out.
Mm-hmm.
They're sending gold out. They're sending pesos out. They're sending all their wealth out. That's a sucking out to get goods in. And it's like, okay, well, there's a cost for that on the back end. You may have prosperity for a long time and enjoy the fruits of the globalist, But I mean, you want to read a gross book, go back and read Thomas Friedman now. The world is flat, like it's this utopian globalist idea that it never came to pass.
Well, and you look at it back to Michael Gentili's comment about the middle class. You look back in even the 70s, I can remember, the middle class family, had two nice cars and a modest, well-appointed home. And then the jobs went overseas, and it's like, you're saying welcome to Walmart now, but we got a low interest loan for you to maintain that standard of living.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the difference. And anything like this, that was a process too. And there was pain in that process. I knew people who got laid off, their jobs went overseas. They had to train their replacements who came over here for training, all these things. And there was uproar about that. And it was going to be the end of the world. Well, the world did not end. Okay. Mm-hmm. But it started a process that got us to where we are. And undoing that process or moving into this new process, whatever you want to call it, is going to take some time, and there's going to be some pain points. And the opposite team is going to make hay on those points on the news.
Yes.
Nothing lasts forever.
No, it doesn't. Will is on from Missouri. John is on this morning out there in Yukon, Oklahoma. Derek is on from North Carolina. Cruz is on from Jerusalem. Stay safe over there, my friend. I'm sure you're doing some training with some good folks out there. God bless you for it. Yeah. Ryan is on from North Texas. And, of course, you read Michael's comments there on the tariffs.
Here's the next one, the next piece of delayed data that's going to affect things, housing data. First, you get a housing permit, and then it starts, and then we look at construction payroll as part of that. As we've talked about in previous shows, I have found this housing data to be some of the best leading indicators out there for the economy. And we're not getting those reports right now. Now, not getting those for a month or two isn't really a long enough timeline to really affect anything. However, it is something when this comes back to see what happens. So keep an eye out. That one will fly a little bit under the radar. As I look at that one, I'll throw it in some show notes and as we go through. This one is the one that I found both, funny, haha, and funny, ironic. The CPI, the CPI, as we call it. What's Michael say there? I think it's rather astute.
Yeah, globalization winners, politicians and financiers, losers, American working class.
Yep.
Yeah, that needs to be on a T-shirt. That's exactly right.
Yep.
God.
So
I don't know why people couldn't see it, or maybe they saw it and just didn't give a care, because right now, I can have a great FY and the rest of the country gets screwed.
Yep.
I mean, my dad, I had a front row seat to it and had no idea as a kid. My dad went all over the world putting in Japanese conveyors. Mm-hmm. That was his job. I mean, he went everywhere, putting in conveyors in all these places where these companies could get cheap labor. whether that was Bombay or Taiwan or Mexico, or,
Yeah.
everywhere, you name it. And it's like, if I would have only known what was happening then, I probably could have made some good investments, but I was a child.
Well, but the good news now is we have that experience, and it's personally I try to find the ancillary side of these investments, like an AI. Not financial advice. I like natural gas pipelines, Caterpillar, John Deere. They got to build those places.
That's right.
And then fuel them with electricity, which takes a lot of natural gas. So whether the AI data center company makes money or not, they're going to borrow money or spend money they raise to buy all that equipment and use those processes. So there's more than one way to skin that cat.
Are you on that front? Are you trying to find the next NVIDIA, or what are you kind of?
Not really. There's a few natural gas pipeline companies I like, pay nice dividends, 8-9% dividends.
Damn.
Yeah. And just sit there and play that out and just wait and, see who the winners are. I take a couple flyers here and there. I hold some NVIDIA right now, full disclosure, not a lot. I mean, it's kind of hard to go wrong holding NVIDIA over a longer period of time. So, we touched on, what I expect to see when the job numbers come out for September. There's stuff out there. That's why Trump shut the government down, so that by the time those numbers come out, it'll be like, oh, that's old news. Here, the October numbers came back.
Trump shut the government down.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. Team Blue will spin it that way when the September numbers are terrible, and whatever. There were other reasons. I mean, there was from the Obamacare subsidy standpoint, talking point. I don't know what the reality is on the why they don't include me in those conversations, but the reality is when the Democrats were in charge, they timed it so those subsidies would end. I believe it's the end of this year. So that they could either make political hay now if they weren't in charge, or if Harris won, then they'd be the big heroes. So
if you're not tracking on really what's the key issue of the shutdown, it's exactly what Will is saying. These subsidies are coming to an end. The Republicans don't want to keep it going, and why should they? We were sold on Obamacare like, hey, this is going to be affordable care for all. That's why it's called the Affordable Care Act. Turns out it's not. And without subsidies, it's a giant freaking mess. And it shouldn't require subsidies,
Yeah. If it's affordable, it shouldn't need to be subsidized.
Exactly. So
and I will also remind everyone that we endured a government shutdown when the Democrats shut the government down to get that passed.
Exactly. So, which we shouldn't have done. It shows what compromises can lead to, this kind of crap right here.
Yeah.
But we're already, I believe, in the longest shutdown in American history, at least the last 100 years.
Trump's 2018 shutdown, I believe, was 35 days.
Really?
So I bet this one goes beyond that. But it was 35 days in 2018.
But what happens when the EBT turns off?
Ooh, and that's the next one. What happens if we go past November 1st?
Exactly.
A lot of states are using their surpluses. My home state of Wisconsin said they will do that. Virginia declared a state of emergency so they could tap certain funds. A number of states are doing that. Here's my real question, though. If granted, they're tapping rainy day funds and emergency funds to do this. So I don't think that's going to be an ongoing thing. I don't think the state's going to afford that. But I'm curious to see how this plays out. Will it just go back to status quo after this? So I don't know exactly how that's going to shake out, but it'll be interesting to watch the process.
And let's take this comment too. I'm not sure how to read your username, sir, but it says a lot of these subsidies are for illegal aliens too. Democrats are fighting to make sure citizenship is not allowed as a metric for handing out government benefits. And I believe that person is absolutely correct. Whether that's a perception or that's real, I mean, it's certainly what I believe to be true.
Yeah, I believe that's true, and I'm reminded of the clip that's going around all the time when all the Democratic candidates were in the primary, and they asked who of you would use subsidies to fund illegal alien healthcare, and they all raised their hands.
Every damn one of them.
And it's kind of fun watching Team Blue squirm and news reports on that one. So
I know, because now it's like we're not asking for that. We don't want that. Like, watch this. Got a little video clip for you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yep. It did not age well, as the
No,
saying.
it certainly did not.
So this is a big overview on the delayed data. It will affect you, especially if you hold anything in the stock market, bonds, stocks, you name it, precious metals, whatever it is. This will affect you in some way on a shorter time frame. Um, so it's and it's going to dominate the news cycle until it's over, and for I don't know a couple of weeks afterwards till something else comes along.
Mm-hmm.
So, sit back, enjoy the show, and watch those talking points. We'll see if it plays out the way I'm thinking on the September report. And if the shutdown goes much into November, then we can start seeing even a delayed report there because they have to amass all the data even for the November report for the first Friday in December. So
looking into the Will Wood crystal ball, how does this thing end? Don't act like you don't have one. We all know you do. What is this?
In the end, I'm always reminded of what that great philosopher Clubber Lang said in Rocky III: pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to end in some pain here at some point. That's how it always ends, right? We're in a bubble in the stock market. Now we can be in a bubble for another year. And the biggest mistake I've made in the past is, thinking everything's imminent. And I've learned to be more patient with that. And, as we talked about in the last show, Alan Greenspan's irrational exuberant speech, it was almost 2 years and 100% more in the stock market before it actually crashed. But in the end, there will be pain. Stock market's way overbought.
I guess let me clarify my question because I may have asked it weird. What I'm getting at is who caves, who blinks.
Oh, for the shutdown?
Yes, sir.
Oh boy. This might be my own bias coming through here. Probably is. I think the Democrats will cave. And the reason I say that is they also need to be careful going. I mean, this stretches out much longer. It's going to really start to affect the midterms. Mm-hmm. And Team Red's pretty fired up out there across America. Mm-hmm. We've had enough.
Yeah.
What's the old movie line? I'm fed up and I'm not taking it anymore. I'm goofing that up, but and I think from the people I know on the Team Red side, pretty much we've had it slammed down our throats. Well, during the 8 years of Obama for sure, and then under Biden, told we're terrible people, and kind of just had enough.
Yeah, and then I don't think we can separate, the assassination attempts, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, those of us on the right that have extended a hand and tried to have meaningful, purposeful conversations, and we're just kicked in the teeth with it and called racists again and again. I don't think that's, they're going to call you racist either way, I guess. This gentleman here says polls show both voters blame the other side equally. So it seems to be about 50-50, but I suspect the Democrats will cave first because the hill they're dying on is literally healthcare for illegals. True. And they're in a doom loop, man. It's like, well, what do you ask? What is your whole party platform besides TDS, Trump derangement syndrome? If Trump could solve everything just by coming out and go, you know what? Breathing is really good for you. and all the Dems would be dead. Oh yeah, within 8 minutes we'd have a sea of dead people because they're not going to do it. That's where we are. That's how ridiculous this is. Mark is on from Ontario, Canada. Tony is on from Rhode Island. Kyle is on from the Philippines. Alan says been listening on the way to the range. We'll catch up in a few. Be safe out there, sir. What does Michael say?
Definition of a weird political landscape. Fetterman makes the most sense. And I'll tell you what, who else is slowly tacking to the other political side. Bill Maher.
Oh yeah, he's been tacking that way for a while.
He has, but he's had it with the far left side of the Democrats. So he's moving that way. I think he's and every time he starts making sense, alarm bells go off in my head.
And it's I think he's still the same guy. I mean, hell, Lisa and I, when we were in California back in '98, we went and saw him, his show. He was always kind of centrist left, but it just shows you how they keep moving. The Overton window keeps sliding that way.
It does.
It's like, geez, man.
Yep, for sure. So look, going back to this jobs number, let's talk a bigger picture thing here, guys, because Team Blue is going to make some hay on this. And for your, I won't even just say low information voter, but a person that doesn't follow these bigger picture things is going to make a lot of sense. And in fairness, if anybody on Team Red argues this, it's going to sound like a political talking point. So I want to arm you guys with this now. So let's talk about this unemployment, this employment growth thing for a minute. The old days, I'm going to say like pre-COVID for sure. The standard rule of thumb was the economy had to create about 250,000 jobs a month to maintain the unemployment rate. That's because about 3 million people a year between high school, college graduates, and immigration, about 3 million of people a year were joining the workforce. Breaks down to about 250,000 a month, right? Mm-hmm. Well, suddenly we're not seeing numbers like that. And we're seeing numbers like 25,000. And Jerome Powell even came out and said that based on a research study that Dallas Fed did, right now we only need about 29,000 jobs created per month to maintain the unemployment rate where it is. Right now we're about full employment. 5% unemployment is considered full employment in that world, okay? So in these new times, we need to look at, there's lower immigration. There's a lot of deportations, both kinds, voluntary and involuntary, right? Mm-hmm. So the number that's required now is around that 25, 29,000 number. So let's noodle this through for a minute. And the political talking point off this is going to be, well, under Biden, we averaged fill in the blank number, 200,000, 150,000, fill in whatever number it is. It's going to be higher than the new number. And just like, when people want to talk about, well, I got a good interest rate on this, not understanding that the definition of that good interest rate is really compared to what can you get from that money if you put it in a safe alternative, like a savings account, right? Mm-hmm. I could make an argument that a 10% interest rate on a loan is a great rate if I can go get 12% of my savings account. It's free money, right?
Right.
So same thing here, 25, 29,000 jobs per month, whatever number you like, could be enough based on the much lower immigration and also this graphic down here that from last week showing that America's replacement rate for births is 1.62 births per woman. And we need 2.1 and some change just to maintain the population. So if we just take immigration out for a second and just look at that 1.6 birth rate per woman, you could actually end up theoretically in a position where a country could be losing jobs every month and unemployment could be going down. Right? Because it's the relationship of those numbers. But because Team Red is in charge, Team Blue is going to make some hay off this when the economy is only producing 25,000 jobs a month or maybe 35,000 and the unemployment rate's going down. There's going to be political talking points made off of that, which will be spin, and they will use a grain of truth in there without looking at this bigger picture stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just can't get out of my head this comment here about I'm going to be interested in seeing the mayoral outcome in New York City because it should be a bellwether for whether the Democrats stand on the midterms. And early voting went on, I think, over the weekend up there.
Mm-hmm. How'd that go? I was out of touch.
Mom Donnie is crushing it right now. He won Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Queens, highest voter turnouts. Cuomo won the Bronx, Staten Island. But he's beaten him like 4 or 5 to 1. So it looks like, to his point there, we're going to get New York's going to have its first Muslim mayor, avowed socialist. Eventually you're going to run out of other people's money and get ready for, John Carpenter's Escape from New York, maybe a documentary after all.
My cynical side says good. Mm. Because now we've got a case study here in America. It's one thing to case study Sweden, and London. We'll just leave out that they nationalized the oil, right? And all this stuff. I remember pictures. I was never there, but I remember pictures, real time, if you will, of New York City in the 70s before Giuliani cleaned it up, right?
Yep.
So I guess maybe some of my cynicism comes from the fact that there's nothing I can do about it. So let him go down the path, let it go to its logical conclusion. It'll take time to play out. In the beginning, it'll look great. We have rent control, we have government run grocery stores, the media will play that up. I would say just be patient, let nature take its course, and then, and actually it works out pretty good. And I'm being cynical here, but it works out really good as an example going into the 2028 presidential election.
Yeah.
By then it'll run some of its course.
True.
And we can go, see, don't want that.
No, because human nature is what it is. I mean, if you give me free money, sit on my ass. I mean, and then eventually people are like, what am I working for? What my taxes are going to what? And I don't understand why this is not common sense to some, and here's what I mean by that. He's crushing Cuomo in Manhattan. Okay.
Well, so if we consider, so there's a few ways I kind of look at this that might be a little contrarian. Manhattan would be your wealthier folks, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stock market types. You and I agree printing money is bad for a country, right?
Correct.
As a stock market investor, I love it. I agree it's bad, but when it happens, I know what's going to happen.
It's true.
Right?
It's predictable results, right?
I know which way your beloved gold is going to go when they start printing money.
Of course.
And at some point, it becomes about me and mine because I can't control the rest.
That's true.
So I can completely disagree with what they're doing and make money off it at the same time.
I love that opinion. Yeah, it's very mercenary. I love it. He also goes on to say that's where Trump and MAGA need to be careful, because I predict if the economy really becomes hard under his term, you will see a rise of populism on the left and Mamdani candidate in 2028.
You can read that comment back up, because I think this ties into something we've been talking about, and I disagree with it, but I can see it. And that is, I see a lot of younger people, loving Mamdani, loving socialism. And while, let's face it, we know what housing prices have done. We know what the cost of everything has done. Wages never keep up with that, right? And outside of a few select professions or fields and some trades too within that, which I love the trades here, okay? Because you can't AI away my air conditioning repair guy, okay?
Or plumbing
or carpenter. I mean, I've never seen a computer throw a 2x4 up to somebody, okay? Nope. But that said, the people who went out and got degrees, we can make fun of the underwater basket weaving gender studies all we want, and it's true, it's stupid, okay? But when they're buried under that debt, and in a lot of ways, I think, when you're going out and buying $12 soy lattes, okay, that grandma and grandpa didn't build they drank coffee that you'd have to get, into a recovery program to come down off the caffeine, right?
That's right. True.
But there's a lot of group talk going on there. Somebody needs to do something. And I think this is what's happening with that generation in a lot of ways, right? So I think this person's comment is dead on, that this generationally, demographically is going to become very popular for a period of time. The good news is it always runs its course. It's just going to take a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a long time to get from Reagan to Biden, right? Or Reagan to Obama. It may be a better term, because Obama was much more aggressive in that stuff, in my opinion. But it took a long time to get there. It took decades, right? To us, it seemed like no time at all, but it's because we lived through it.
True.
Right. So that, it's going to be a process, and it's going to suck in a lot of ways.
Well, and I think that leads to this one. Michael Gentili says New York City is going to experience the same path as Cleveland when Dennis Kucinich was elected.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think Michael lived through that up there. Gold member is in the house. Good morning. He said, I heard my nickname. Had to have you on, brother.
Good to see you. So, as this jobs thing plays out, and I don't see this part of it, with the number of jobs per month, this isn't going to play out immediately, guys. Kind of keep your ear to the ground on this one. This will probably start coming in more after the shutdown's over, after we get the shock of the September numbers, what I think is going to happen there, and things kind of settle down. This will start coming in as more jobs reports come in with lower and lower numbers compared to what historically has been that 250K a number per month. As that changes, Team Blue is going to make hay on this. It just, and let's face it, if roles are reversed, if we had President Harris right now and these job numbers were happening for some reason, Team Red would make their talking points on it too. It is what it is.
About passed out President Harris.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I had to rehearse that one a few times this morning, so I didn't get the full body shiver going here. So, and just this one, this chart's a little, I found it difficult to read just because it's live births per 1,000 people, and this is the United States, guys. So we're used to talking about like the 1.62 births per woman. This is live births per 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what I really want to look at here isn't really the numbers, but rather the trend. Okay. We can look back in the 50s and 60s, making lots of babies. We know what happened there. Mm-hmm. Trivia point, what happened in the early 60s to make the birth rate go down?
Birth control pill.
Very good. Yes, sir.
And then 70s, we got Roe versus Wade.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then things started, basically stabilized to trending slowly upward in the 80s because it was the best decade ever. And then started going down in the 90s. Now, this ties back into our employment thing. And this is also, I think, ties back into immigration. And I think Trump really needs to do something to make it easier to get people in here and set up a system to become Americans, not hyphenated Americans.
Agree.
Because look what's happened since 2007. Now it's ticked back up here lately, but you add 18 to 2007, you get right now. And it takes 18 years to make an 18-year-old to go out to work, right? Mm-hmm. Throw in a couple more years for college for about half of the high school graduates, right? Mm-hmm. And you can see this trend is just going to continue downward until about 2040.
I'll tell you what I would do. It's pretty damn simple,
Okay.
I mean, really, it's Tommy Robinson. You're going to be the face of, the 3 million citizens of the UK that feel like they've lost their country and they're looking for a new home. And we have some unused land out in Idaho and Utah and what have you. And each person gets 20 acres and a mule. Come on over. I'd start with, encouraging, just like you did with these South Africans that are, fearful of the farm murders and they're ready to come over. Now, not many have come, but, give them some incentives. And, you don't have to stay and watch the decline of Ireland. You can get the hell out, come over here and help us rebuild this place.
Yep. So
what's this gentleman say?
Says those social factors are certainly a large part, but you can't ignore the financial component of devaluing the money when it comes to lower birth rates. Young people literally can't afford children, even if they wanted to. Absolutely correct.
Yep.
I mean, when they're trying to, manage whether it's responsible or irresponsible spending, doesn't matter. It's the spending they're doing. Yeah. It
also goes back to that sucking sound you talked about earlier, that I think Ross Perot quote. Yep. And it was the same thing with the Netherlands and with Spain and with the UK. You start debasing your currency, the Rome, of course, the denarius, the whatever. You debase it to keep buying those goods from other places. You lose your ability to manufacture. Everybody becomes decadent, and it's a wrap.
Yeah, absolutely true. So it all comes together into this witch's brew that is really hard to turn around. And it starts with taking care of the underpinnings of the monetary system, the fiscal, the political side of the spending. And also a big part of that is trade. And, we took the easy path for a long time. And the easy path was globalization, export our inflation. Every time there's a blip in anything, just, lower interest rates, have some government spending. We took the easy path for a long time, really as the entire West.
Yes.
And undoing that is going to involve a lot of pain. And somebody's going to have to step up and be like, yeah, I'm going to eat some pain.
Yeah. And, Mark or Hamilton up there in Ontario says, hey, Idaho sounds nice. I'm in. Okay, come on down. I don't
Yep.
see Mark, the other Mark from Australia on this morning, but you know, we got plenty of people that could
Yep.
speak English. You
Mhm.
have advanced degrees and et cetera. Come on over. We're going to give you
Yeah.
some tax breaks for the next decade to get you solid on your
Or,
feet.
or can just drive a truck. I just saw an article recently with the immigration crackdown and throwing those folks out. Long haul truckers, they're making some serious coin now because there's fewer of them.
They are,
And
but to me that's an easy. Within 5 years, we're going to see a lot of those guys getting replaced with autonomous vehicles. I think it ain't
I
going to
agree.
happen soon, but it's coming.
It's a bridge, but in the meantime, it gives gives a good wage to somebody who wants to go out and work and do something other than mix up lattes.
Absolutely, and I like this one here from this user this morning. I'm so glad to have you on because I think most people live in their parents' home until they're in their 30s now, and I'm case point. We got 14 acres here in Tennessee, and I've got our main house and 1, 2, 3. We'll call them guest houses, but I mean with various family members living in
Mm-hmm.
them. And why not? I
Yeah.
mean, why go out and get a 7.5, mortgage and pay
Mm-hmm.
your own, bills? It's like there's has to be some way that as a parent I can help with the low wages that kids are making these days,
Yeah. Yep.
because
And
wages have not kept up.
and to that point, that's a big part of how I view my investing and research within this is how can I better set up my children
Mhm.
to succeed in this, both, monetarily, college, and also the knowledge of, hey, as long as they keep devaluing the money, once you buy an asset, never get rid of it.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, my biggest regrets financially are the assets I sold.
Amen.
And now that
Absolutely.
I wish I understood then what I know now, because I wouldn't have sold it. I would have found a way to keep it or borrow against it to generate cash flow, whatever.
Yeah. That's
Um,
solid advice.
so
Dr. Gordon Botson is on. Good morning, sir. And Dr. T.C. Fuller is on as the old gray man. Kyle says, I speak English. Yeah, man.
awesome.
Come on over. Love to have
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
But that we're
Um,
all this conversation about declining birth rates, 1.6, whatever it is, it's not going to be enough. I don't know if it's tax breaks for more children. I don't know what it looks like. Well, but we got to do something.
yeah. I think the first thing is just right the financial ship of the country, and that's going to take time.
Yeah.
It's going to take a concerted effort over a period of time, and people are going to have to be willing to eat some pain, which in society nowadays is going to be a tough sell.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the answer is.
I don't either.
All right. So to that thing, this is something I heard a blurb about, and it got me curious. So I looked it up, and it's really about knowing the future cost of current decisions. And people say, well, I just spent $10 today on my, latte and
Yep.
whatever and
This
blah
is a
blah.
Warren Buffett thing, is what this is.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this
He's
is
like, can't
yeah,
spend $10 because I'm losing $12,000.
exactly. So this
Yeah.
is over a longer period of time. This is 30 years, 8% return. The $10 you spend today, compounded annually, in 30 years is called $11,000.
Yeah.
So the one I heard was this guy's retired now. I asked him, how did you accumulate your wealth? And he said, I skipped haircuts.
Yeah.
And if you got a haircut recently, you know what that costs. And I'm particularly susceptible to the price of hair care products, so
Yes,
that
you are.
strikes close to home. But this is what this sort of thing isn't what's really taught. And some of this, I should say, some of this goes back to the problems that the younger generations are having too.
Mhm.
I have to have my subscription to this. I have to, whatever that might be, right? I mean,
And here's the thing on that point, because I know people my age that are that way, and I'm like, there's a pain penalty for that, and you're going to
mhm,
feel it when you go to retire, and you can't enjoy the kind of retirement you thought you were. But I hope you
yeah,
enjoyed your $17.99 Hulu subscription, or fill in the blank, right?
yeah. I mean, I do okay financially. We still cycle. You know, we have Netflix one month and Hulu another month. We cycle that around because otherwise it just goes to waste.
Yeah.
Right. So, binge watch it during that month because on the 31st, Dad's canceling it.
That's right.
Welcome to life in the Wood household. So,
It's love it.
what's Dr. Fuller say there?
He says, when it comes to immigration, do any of us have a problem with those who come here legally and actually want to integrate, work hard, and simply be American? Not a bit. No, not a bit.
Quite the opposite of not having a problem. Hey, how can we help?
But it's illegal immigration, or it's the people that will not integrate.
Yep.
And you know who I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Folks from the Middle East have a tendency to want to bring their customs and laws with them, and that they're anathema to what we as a culture value. It's not going to work out.
Yep.
And he also goes on to say, but well, when it comes to hair care products, can one really put a price on good looks? Man, I've wondered that myself.
Me too. I'm just trying to work with what I got. So, what's Rasmus say there?
Heading to the range. I'll continue listening the rest of on the road. Have a safe day, my friend.
Awesome. So this is I'm just throwing this out there really as a big picture thing, but this applies to the government too. When the government borrows money and throws it out there to make things happen, and people fetter that away, whether it be stimmy checks or whatever you want to call it, this works in the opposite way for the government. When they're paying interest month after month, year after year on that money, we just call it treasury bills and treasury bonds.
Yeah.
So just, I don't know, a little bigger picture part of that.
Before we go to this final one here, he says, no, but that's not enough. We want people of high quality, high education skills are compatible socially, which is why, I'm unambiguous about, I would love to attract from Western Europe, as it slides into the abyss. I think there's a lot of people that feel disenfranchised and left out of where their country is going. And, we could reopen Ellis Island for those folks. And, you could look at the way New Zealand does theirs. We've talked about that on the show before. You go in, you fill out your qualitative and quantitative variables for you as a person, and then it spits out a score at the end, and that score tells you how competitive you are for immigration.
Yeah.
Something like that would not be a bad idea.
Dr. Botson's comment made me chuckle.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that. He says, heck, people from California want to bring their customs and politics into free states. Yeah, man, I don't know if I talked to you about this or Dr. Fuller when I had him on the show when you were stuck in Phoenix or wherever you were stuck at. There was a No Kings protest here in Cumberland County, Tennessee, down at the square. And my brother goes down there just to kind of walk around, mingle with the crowd, kind of weave in and out, listen to what these people are saying. And every freaking one of them, it says there was not a Tennessee accent in the bunch, number one. And all these people were like, oh, where did you come here for? Where did you buy at? And it's like, this is the poison I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you liked that crap, go back to whatever blue state shithole you come from. Pardon my French.
Well, it's the same thing as a, foreign immigrant coming in. And it's the exact same thing, just on they didn't have to fill out any paperwork to come from California to Tennessee, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just this, you came here for a reason, guys. Yeah. Pack your crap and go back to where you were from, man. This is not, what does he say here?
No shortage of excellent people to bring in. He was reading the other day how so many young German engineers are unemployed because of economic slowdowns. They're due to their energy situation. I believe they just destroyed their last nuclear power plant. In the age of AI, why would anyone get rid of electrical capacity?
That's crazy.
Electrical generation capacity. But it's the green god, right? And so this is, Germany is sealing their own fate in an electrified world.
Well, what they're going to do is be subservient to Russia again. Here we go. It's just so stupid.
Yep. So
Dr. Fuller says we all balk at the idea of those coming from a failed culture who want a, quote, better life. So they come bringing their failed ideas and culture with them for good reason. Yeah. Which is, I'm reading right now, The Camp of the Saints. Are you familiar with this book?
I'm not. No, what's it about?
It was when it was written, I think in 1973. It was labeled the most racist book in history.
Mm-hmm.
So for years it had kind of flown under the radar. They just did a 2025 reprinting because it has come true. Douglas Murray in his book, The Strange Death of Europe, mentions it multiple times. But basically it's a dystopian novel about, oh my God, what would France do if millions of migrants just showed up on the shores, and what would happen to the country? And
Yeah.
it's exactly what has happened in real life. But at the time, it's like, how dare you write something like this? Of course they would assimilate and become Frenchmen. No, they don't, man.
No,
No.
not at all. So,
yeah. What's this last comment? I know we're running out of time here, my friend.
Yep. I'm against the clock today, guys. Your entire life will change when you realize that you're not building wealth for things you can buy. You're building wealth for the problems you won't have, the emergency that won't devastate you, the opportunity you can take, the pressure you don't feel. Wealth is peace, not possessions. And as I have preached to my children over and over again, money does not buy you happiness. It buys you options.
I love that. Absolutely.
So I remind myself of that regularly, with trading the market and things like that. I heard another one I really liked recently. Just to make the number simple, let's say your budget's $5,000 a month, for everything. So every $5,000 you save or earn in the stock market, in wealth there, that's a 1 month freedom token.
Yeah.
And it really changed how I started thinking about that, because it's like, okay, how many freedom tokens do I need before I can just retire or back off a little bit or what have you? And it's, I really like that idea, freedom tokens.
That's the way I look at it. I mean, I've recommended it a bazillion times, the psychology of money. What does money mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
And money is, for me, is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom to do what I want, go where I want, eat what I want, spend time with who I want to spend time with, and not be a slave to money or slave to work.
Yep.
So, Michael Gentili says Denmark is now threatening to deport immigrants that do not want to assimilate. Yep. It reminds me of the movie Tombstone, where there's a great scene in there where Kurt Russell playing Wyatt Earps, threatens the Cowboys, says, "Hey man, I see a red sash, I'm killing the man wearing it."
Yeah.
And guess what? He got rid of him.
Yeah.
But it was a harsh, time, because he was doing extrajudicial killings because he was a marshal at the time. But man, it worked. And something, obviously not that extreme with regard to burqas, but hey, I see a burqa on, I'm ripping it off. Not happening.
Yeah, and Europe's gone further down that immigration slide than the United States has, and the people there are fed up too, right? Yeah. So we're going to start seeing changes there, and I think all this is it's all part of the fourth turning. This will be a process. It's going to take a number of years. Buckle up, make some popcorn. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are out of time, my dear friend.
Sorry to put us on a rush today, but I got to go move around the country.
Well, thanks to the 12 folks watching us, and be safe out there. I'm going to let Will, if you would, close us out.
I absolutely be thrilled to. The fight is coming. Be ready.